The Lord will give strength unto his people. The Lord will bless his people with peace. For those of you that are not sitting in the congregation today, I just would like you to know that we're all melting. It's a bit warm today. We have a few days in the year that we say, why don't we have air conditioning? And then the rest of the year we don't need it. So it really is a waste. But this is one of those days where we wish we had it. We're going to start today's service with page 289, soon and very soon, and we'll sing the first and third verses of 289. So the announcements are the same as usual. We are meeting here on Saturday afternoons, and everybody is welcome to attend. We are on WBSM on Sunday mornings at 7 o'clock, and I'm continuing with the book of Romans, and I believe I'm on chapter 15 now. So that will be ending soon, and then the next series that I'm going to take, which I did here also, was biblical health. So if you wanted to go over that, I think that's also on YouTube though, so if you wanted to go through that, you could go through your biblical health. We all need to be worried about how healthy we are, not how sick we are, and not worried. We need to be aware of how well we are. So just keep that in mind, and that series is going to start on WBSM for the Happy Bible Hour. And of course we have our webpage, which is peopleschristian.com, where you can find everything you need, including the tabs for Facebook and for YouTube. And I have started, I did the book of Psalms in our daily commentaries, and then I went to some hymn history, and then I decided to go through the book of Proverbs. So now our daily commentary, and I'm going to tell you there are some days I'm going to miss. Thursdays I'm very busy, and by the time it's too early to put it on before I leave, and then by the time I get home, it's really too late. So more than likely Thursday I'll skip, but for the most part, it will be there sort of daily. And again, it will be just a little synopsis of some verses from the book of Proverbs. Proverbs is basically common sense. So I think we need that. Oh, maybe we don't, but I think the world needs that. So that will be our commentaries for a while, because Proverbs has, I believe, 31 chapters. We are continuing on in the book of John, and today I'm going to read John chapter 5 and verses 9 through 18. So John chapter 5, verses 9 through 18. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed and walked, and on the same day was the Sabbath. The Jews therefore said unto him that was cured, It is the Sabbath day. It is not lawful for thee to carry thy bed. He answered them, He that made me whole, the same said unto me, Take up thy bed and walk. Then asked they him, What man is that which said unto thee, Take up thy bed and walk? And he that was healed wist not who it was, for Jesus had conveyed himself away, a multitude being in that place. Afterward Jesus findeth him in the temple, and said unto him, Behold, thou art made whole. Sin no more, lest a worse thing come upon thee. The man departed and told the Jews that it was Jesus which had made him whole. And therefore did the Jews persecute Jesus and sought to slay him, because he had done these things on the Sabbath day. But Jesus answered them, My Father worketh hitherto, and I work. Therefore the Jews sought the more to kill him, because not only had he broken the Sabbath, but said also that God was his Father, making himself equal with God. Then answered Jesus and said unto them, Verily, verily, I say unto you, the Son can do nothing of himself, but what he seeth the Father do. For what things soever he doeth, these also doeth the Son likewise. So, just to backtrack just a little bit, we know that Jesus came upon this man at the pool, waiting for the pool to ripple a little bit. And when the pool rippled, then if the first person that went in was healed. This was what they thought or what happened. And so he was lame, crippled, and so he could, every time the pool rippled, somebody always got in before him. And so when Jesus came upon him, he told this to Jesus. Now, one of the things that I was thinking about this morning, when I was going through this, it was the crippled man's attitude also. Because his attitude was, I'm never going to be able to get into the pool. It wasn't, maybe someday I'll be the only one here and I'll finally get in, or maybe somebody will help me. He had a sort of a defeatist attitude, and that does hinder our healing with anything. It hinders us in many, many ways when we believe the worst. And so Jesus kind of ignored his attitude and healed him. So this is where we were at this point. And when Jesus healed this man, he told him, get up and take your bed and walk away. Now, remember, this man had been lame for many, many years. So we know with today's science that his muscles would have atrophied. And he would, in today's world, would not have been able to do this, even if he was healed. He would have had to gone to physical therapy and all that stuff, and they would have come to the house for a while, and then you would have gone out and done the physical therapy, and then you would have had to done occupational therapy, and that's not with Jesus, though, is it? Jesus said, you're healed, you're fine, get up and walk, and the man could do so. So as we take up the account of the happenings here, we see that the Pharisees get involved. And we know that one of the commandments, the fourth commandment, is remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. But if you read on in that verse, you will see that the work they're talking about is work that you gain from. So for instance, your job, selling something, doing something like that. There is nothing in that commandment that says you can't turn on a light switch, or you can't help your neighbor, or you can't cook a meal, because you do have to eat. It's just saying you shouldn't be doing servile work that you make money from on that day. But the Pharisees had taken this simple law that God had given us. And why did God give us the Sabbath? Was it for him? No. It was so that we could have a day apart from the world to really get our mind back where it needs to be. If you're in the world right now, we were just discussing this before church, if you're in the world right now, you are being bombarded with so many things that go against your beliefs. You are being bombarded with so much misinformation that people are just taking for what they say. They don't look it up and see if that's true. You are being told to follow the science. And then when you look at the science, the scientists don't agree. So which scientists are you following? So this day, this Sabbath day that God created for us, and again, in creation, he rested the seventh day. What did he rest from? Creating. He didn't rest from watching over us or the world. He rested from just creating. He was done with creation. So when we're resting on the Sabbath day, we're resting from the normal work that we do, that we consider work. The day is made for us to regenerate. Body, mind, and spirit. It's made for us to, I really think all of us need to go back to, I don't know what you people did, but in our household, I think we need to go back to Friday night sunset to Saturday night sunset, shutting that TV off, putting your phone away. Because what did we do during that time? Well, for us, Friday night meant going to Bible study, but it also meant family time. We often played Parcheesi. And I remember Russell Cox was often at our house playing Parcheesi with us. We played board games. The world was not around. Of course, it was a whole lot different then. And when we were shutting TV off, we were only shutting off, 3 or 4 stations? But nonetheless, we still shut it off. And then what was Saturday morning? Saturday morning was preparing to go to church. And you know, back in those days, there was one bathroom. Everybody had to take a bath. So you had your time for the bath, and you got ready, and you got out your good clothes, and you were preparing for church. And then you came to church, and you weren't just in church an hour, looking at your watch to see when the person was finally going to stop talking. You were in church 2.5, 3 hours, depending on how long Mr. Baldwin spoke. It was your day. It was dedicated to family and to God and to, again, regenerating yourself for the week, to go out into the world. But these Pharisees took that day that God made for us, and they put all this extra stuff on it. Okay? You can't carry a bed, obviously, was one of them, because they told the lame man he shouldn't have done that. If you look at very strict Jews, you will see that they will walk to the temple. They won't drive a car. Some will not even so far as go turn on a light switch. But that's not what God had in mind for this. This Sabbath wasn't for us to suffer. This Sabbath was for us to build a relationship with Him and to build a relationship with family and church family. And that's what we did, didn't we? Everybody in this church right now is agreeing with me, because that's exactly what we did. So when the Pharisees condemned this man for carrying his bed, they didn't even think about the miracle that had just happened. Something very out of the ordinary happened. And what were they concerned with? The nitty part of it. You picked up your bed. You're not supposed to. So the man very innocently says to them, well, the person that healed me, he told me to pick up my bed and carry it. And he wasn't doing this to be vindictive or anything. It was just a fact he was stating. This man that healed me said, pick up your bed. And so, again, the Pharisees were not concerned that they were not impressed that a great miracle had happened. They were just concerned with the fact that this man had broken a law. And then instead of assuming that Jesus was wrong because he's told someone to pick up his bed, instead of assuming that he was wrong, they should have just thought, but wait a minute. He did a miracle. We've been looking for centuries for this person, this Messiah, to come and do miracles. The light bulb should have gone on. But they were far too concerned with being nitpicky and just following the law that they thought was so important. Now, if we want to look in the scriptures to see some parallel verses, there's actually quite a few about what the Sabbath is. And I just went blank as to where Nehemiah. I just went blank to where Nehemiah was. We don't turn to Nehemiah very often. In Nehemiah chapter 13, it tells us about the Sabbath. Now, Nehemiah is a prophet, and he is talking to the children of Israel because they have, gone far away from the law and what they're supposed to be doing. But in Nehemiah chapter 13, starting to read at verse 15, he's reminding them. So it's Nehemiah 13, starting with 15. In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in that day, wherein they sold victuals. These dwelt men of Tyre, and also therein, which brought fish, and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the noble of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day? Did not your fathers thus, and did not our God bring all this evil upon us and upon this city? Yet ye bring more wrath upon Israel by profaning the Sabbath. And it came to pass that when the gates of Jerusalem began to be dark before the Sabbath, I commanded that the gates should be shut, and charged that all they that should not be opened till after the Sabbath. And some of my servants set I at the gates, that there should be no burden be brought in on the Sabbath day. What's it talking about here? It's just your wares, selling and buying your wares, doing your job, sort of, so to speak. It says nothing about doing good, getting a meal for someone. And there's other verses in Numbers, Exodus, and Jeremiah that basically say the same thing. So these verses forbid working on the Sabbath, especially carrying burdens. This passage in Nehemiah makes it clear that men were condemned for carrying burdens in their business for personal profit. And that's what it is. It's the profit that you're making here. And this man didn't do any of those things, did he? He wasn't selling anything. He didn't charge people to look to see that he was healed. He just picked up his bed, I'm sure extremely happy, and walked away. So he was not violating anything. He did not do anything wrong, but yet the Pharisees were trying to say he did, because again, they were just too busy looking at the law and not what the law stood for. In Matthew chapter 12, verses starting with verse 1, this is an account of Jesus. And Jesus went on the Sabbath day through the corn, and his disciples were an hungered, and began to pluck the ears of corn and to eat. But when the Pharisees saw it, they said unto him, Behold, thy disciples do that which is not lawful to do upon the Sabbath day. But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they were with him? How he entered into the house of God, and did eat the showbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them which were with him, but only for the priests? Or have ye not read in the law how that on the Sabbath day the priests in the temple profane the Sabbath and are blameless? But I say unto you, that in this place is one greater than the temple. But if ye had known what this meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice, ye would not have condemned the guiltless. For the Son of Man is Lord even of the Sabbath. So they're condemned for, and this goes on to say, if you have one sheep that has gone astray, if it's the Sabbath day, are you just going to let that sheep go? No, you're going to go after it. So this is Jesus himself speaking and clarifying what the Sabbath day means. And so the Sabbath did not condemn, the idea of the Sabbath does not condemn our effort to help others or just the daily idea of getting up, making a meal, washing, getting dressed, things like that, driving here. That's not what this law is meant to look at. We can't stop our body from digesting food because it's the Sabbath. Our body's still working. So this idea that the Pharisees were trying to get this man on were just not right. But what was their real idea on this whole thing? It wasn't about this man. They wanted to know who did this. Now it tells us that the crowd was so large there that Jesus just kind of disappeared into the crowd. But then Jesus saw the man again in the temple, and that's when the man knew who he was. And he went and told the Pharisees, again, innocently. He wasn't spying or telling on Jesus. He was just letting them know that this amazing person had performed this miracle, and now he could walk. He didn't think that they were going to go after him for it. He just wanted them to know that that was what happened. And when Jesus saw this man in the temple, he did tell him one thing, and that was, again, just like the woman at the well, go and sin no more. We don't know how or why this man was crippled. I'm sure Jesus did. We don't know. Many of the problems that we have in our lives all stem from sins that we've committed. And sometimes they're sins of the body, in that we have eaten wrong our whole lives, or done certain things that we shouldn't have, not exercised, whatever. Sometimes they're things of the mind, in that our thoughts are always negative. Today is going to be a bad day. I just know it. Well, guess what? Today is going to be a bad day if that's the way you think about it. Or sins of the spirit, in which we're not in tune with in prayer or in Bible reading or in listening. So when he's saying go and sin no more, we don't know what the sin was, but we just know that if we stay away from sin, we're going to be better off, period. And it doesn't, again, there's 3 areas of sin that we can have. Any one of those can make it difficult for us. So as this lame man, no longer lame, tells the Pharisees who it was Jesus, they wanted to kill him. Very simply, just wanted to kill him because he had healed on the Sabbath day. Instead of respecting Jesus as a prophet, even just a prophet, never mind the Son of God, instead of just respecting him as a prophet, that he could do great miracles, they wanted to kill him. Such was their zeal for human traditions that they would seek to kill a man doing a deed that should have proved he was directly from God. They didn't look beyond the fact that he had done something on the Sabbath. They were only concerned with the law. And note at this point, they don't care about the man that was healed, do they? They just wanted some information from him. They don't care. He's gone off. He's living his life. Because the issue now was what Jesus had done on the Sabbath in healing the man. So Jesus explains to them, it's actually verse 17. He says, my Father worketh hitherto, and I work. So what does he mean by that? Well, Jesus' attitude toward the Sabbath was one of the main objectives the Jews had to Jesus. On nearly every other point which they confronted him, he so completely disproved them that they were forced to drop the issue. After all, who had been the inspiration for the writing of the words that they were reading? He knew what they meant. They were just assuming what they meant. But the idea of the Sabbath came up over and over again. And Jesus answered their objections often using various different arguments. And I'm sure you've done that with people. You see they're doing something wrong, or you're having a disagreement over something, and you say it in one way and they're not getting what you're saying, so you change it around a little bit to tell them a different way so that maybe then they'll understand the second time, and sometimes it goes on and they never understand. And so Jesus was changing his approach to explaining to them over and over again. He answered them by showing that it was just as valid for him to work on the Sabbath as it was for his Father to work on the Sabbath. Because, when you pray on Saturday, do you just get a busy signal? God's still working on the Sabbath, isn't he? Doesn't matter when you pray. He's still going to hear you. He's not shutting it off. He's not shutting his text off. He's not shutting his emails off. He's there all the time. So Jesus says, my Father works every day, so I'm just doing what he did. Now, the one thing here is that the Pharisees actually understood what Jesus meant by Father here. They understood that he meant God, the Heavenly Father. Jesus' point is that the Sabbath institution related to the fact that God rested on the seventh day during creation. And in fact, it is the Sabbath that actually continues with what God told us. Note also, we know that Jesus was there at creation also. So, he's part of that. Again, God stopped his work from creation. He did not stop his work altogether. Now, this really threw the Pharisees off the edge, because now, not only has he disobeyed a law, but he's now blasphemed. Jesus is now blasphemed according to them, because he's now said, I am the Son of God. Now again, if you know anything about Jewish history, even if it's not from the Bible, you know that their entire history was them looking for the Messiah to come. They were signs and wonders that they were looking for. Many of these signs and wonders had happened, yet they were blind to it. Because why? They were too busy nitpicking the law. That's what they were doing. God works every day. And Jesus said he was going to work every day because that was what his Father did. This was a miracle. It wasn't an everyday occurrence. He had worked on the Sabbath by helping a man walk again. The Jews should have been excited about this. They should have been saying, well, if you can do that, what else can you do? Come to the temple. Talk to us. We know some people that need healing. They didn't have a concern for anyone else. They had a concern only for the law. And guess what, of course? The argument that Jesus gave them, did it satisfy them? No. It only made them more angry, more upset, more tuned against him, because they had ulterior motives. And it didn't matter what the evidence was. It didn't matter what Jesus said. It didn't matter what their history was. They weren't concerned about that at all. They were just concerned with proving that Jesus was wrong, that he had healed on the Sabbath, that he had told someone to carry their bed on the Sabbath, that he had said he was the Son of God. It didn't matter whether the evidence was right or wrong. They had their minds made up way before that. Jesus was a force that they had to reckon with. And the only way they thought they could do that was to kill him. Again, it wasn't there even in their thoughts at all to invite him in and talk to him and see what it was going on. They just wanted to prove him wrong. Violation of the Sabbath and blasphemy were both capital crimes under the law. Had Jesus been guilty of either, he would have been worthy of death. But we know in truth he was not guilty of either one of those things. Verse 18 states the conclusion of what we know as fallible, erring men. The fact remains that the evidence that Jesus presented in the context does prove that Jesus was claiming deity with the Father. Who else had performed miracles? In fact, he claimed that he himself did the work of creating, which we know, and he did not deny their conclusion about his claim to deity. He didn't lie about it. He told them the truth. And but he did deny that he broke the Sabbath because he hadn't. Although the Jews thought that what Jesus had committed was blasphemy because he had said he was the Son of God, the simple thing is that claim was true. They couldn't disprove it, and he could prove it. Jesus' miracles. He's turned water into wine. He's healed a child from afar off. He has known the life of the woman at the well, even though he didn't know her. He has healed the lame man. And I know all of this has gotten around by word of mouth. He's proved that he can perform miracles. Who else but the Son of God would be able to do this? So this really isn't about the Sabbath, but it is in a way. And so I want to just go off on a little aside here before I end. And I am doing a Bible study on Friday nights via Zoom with some oily friends. And they are a community of believers. And we are studying healing. And our topic last night was, how do we go about healing? We are each responsible for our own healing. Yes, we can go to a doctor and we can say, I have such and such pain. What do you think it is? And then they can do some tests and maybe find what it is. But if you're going to a doctor and expecting a pill to be a miracle for you, it's not going to if you don't change your lifestyle. So we are responsible ourselves for keeping ourselves healthy, especially in the world the way it is today. Not just physically, but spiritually and mentally. So I brought up, because I'm the odd one in that I keep the Sabbath, I brought up the fact, we went into the beginning, that the Sabbath day for us growing up, and still not as strict as it was, but still for me that way. I don't usually plan to do things from Friday night, and I never go out on Saturday, usually except to come to church. And that you could do a lot of healing mentally and spiritually if you took one day and shut everything else off. When I drive to church, and Joshua can complain about it, I have on classical music. I don't listen to modern music. I don't listen to news. I have on classical music. It's just instruments that are soothing or maybe exciting. Oftentimes when I'm getting prepared for the sermon, I tell Alexa to put on hymns. And she nicely does for me. And I listen to that as I'm preparing. It's the mindset that you have. I don't have TV going on with the news telling me horrible things. We need to take this Sabbath day for what it is, and that is to heal ourselves, especially mentally and spiritually. Pull yourself away from the world. It's really, really important, especially now when we have things coming at us in all directions. Some of it true, some of it not. This Sabbath that the Pharisees were nitpicking about, telling us things that were wrong about the Sabbath, kind of emphasizes that the Sabbath was important. It was important to Jesus, but not in the way that they saw it as important. For him, it was the Sabbath, a day that you rested from your work, but not from doing good things. And you will see that many times over, Jesus did good things on the Sabbath, especially healing. We know that Jesus himself took himself away from the crowds because it became too much. And that's Jesus, it became too much. He needed to go speak with his Father directly, get away from the crowds, get away from everybody, and just have a time of reflection. When you heal yourself mentally and spiritually, the physical will come along. Attitude is a big concern. Be more positive. Smile more often. Smile especially on the Sabbath. That you're happy to be here. To be honest with you, and I said earlier that, people would be looking at their watch to see if it was time to leave yet. I will say honestly that really we don't here. But then again, I usually try, now it's 40 minutes, but I used to keep it to the hour. But there are many people that just go, not to hear a message, to do, what they did all their lives. It's tradition more than something they want to do. The Sabbath is important. Treat it the way Jesus treated it. Have respect for it. Use it the way it's supposed to be used. And shut off the Pharisees. We still have them today, don't we? They're not in robes and they're not, in the temple preaching, but we have Pharisees at our, in our minds all the time, telling us things that we should do or shouldn't do, or why are we doing it, or that's foolish, that's old-fashioned. Shut that out. We don't need their opinion. All we need is this. So that is it for today, and we are going to go to God in prayer. We have a few people that need some prayers. The same ones as usual, Phyllis and Waldo, Daryl, Ed, and I'm adding to our prayer list, and I'm not giving you his name, a small child who is going through cancer treatment right now, and he is in foster care with very good parents who are taking care of him, with a very large community of people that are helping them out. The chemo that he was having wasn't sufficient, so they're going to have to increase it and also do radiation. And this is just a very, very small child. So let's keep that child in our prayers, along with everyone else that we know of. We all have someone in our family or friends of ours that are, definitely in need of prayer. We all are. So let's look to God in prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you this afternoon for the opportunity to come to your house on the Sabbath day to worship, a day that you have set aside for us so that we can spend our time away from the world, reflecting and communing with you, reading your word, listening to music that glorifies you. And we just thank you that you have given us this day, because it really is important for us to regroup ourselves, to go through the week in the world that we now live in. The song that we sang at the beginning, soon and very soon, we're hoping that that soon and very soon is very soon. And we know that when you come again and establish your kingdom on earth, that we can't even imagine on how amazing it's going to be. And we give you thanks for that hope that you've given to us, that gets us through the trials that we have on this earth. As always, I ask special blessings on those that are sick, those that mourn, those with financial difficulties, and especially those that we've mentioned today or thought of today. You certainly do know the need, and we thank you that you are watching over each and every one. We ask for special blessings on our governments, both local and national, protection and blessings for our president and his family, along with our service personnel and their families, first responders and volunteers. We ask that you keep them all safe, help them to do their jobs to the best of their ability. And again, as always, I pray that every song that has been sung and every word that has been said is to your name's honor and glory, giving you praise and thanks in your Son's name. Amen. We have a song to close, and it is found on page 371. Heaven Came Down, and this will get you smiling for the rest of the week, and we'll sing the first and last verses of 371. Of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my Redeemer. God is good
all the time.